Sleep paralysis / possession / ghost story. So I've never really talked about this, but it all started about 3 years ago when I was talking to this girl called Natalie. She lived in an older house and had the entire basement to herself. I remember her saying things like her house was haunted, but I didn't really believe her until this one night. So me and my friend Nick are spending the night at her house, and I remember my friend laying down on the couch at like 9:30 and just staring blankly at the wall. I didn't think anything was wrong. I thought he was just messing around. I started calling his name. Yo, Nick! 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 Nothing. Couldn't get a response from him. Meanwhile, I was across the room and Natalie was sitting on her bed. After about a minute of him just staring blankly, he jumps off the couch saying, "I don't screw with that. I don't screw with that." Freaking out, and Natalie started laughing. It didn't really dawn on me until later that I think she knew what was happening. Anyways, I started laughing too, thinking it was just a joke. About 5 minutes pass and he calms down and sits back down on the couch. This is where things get a little creepy and interesting. She had this screen door in her room that opened outside. I specifically remember, as soon as I took 2 steps out of her room to go outside, every single light in her room blew out and it was pitch black, and it got really creepy for a sec. We tried everything, and the only thing in her room that would work was the lamp that was next to the couch where Nick had been laying. Anyways, this was all kind of new to me, and I didn't really know what to think about the situation. I then remember things getting weird in the room, like Natalie was getting super agitated over the littlest things and wouldn't let me sleep in her bed. So I was like, whatever, I'll just sleep on the floor at the foot of the bed. I remember I just could not fall asleep that night. I was laying there while everyone else was asleep, when I had a sleep paralysis type feeling. I couldn't move or anything. I remember this happened to me once while I was young, and all I could think to do was pray. I started saying the Our Father prayer in my head, and when about halfway through it stopped, and I just tried to go back to bed. About 30 seconds pass and it hits me again and I can't move. It's giving me chills just typing this. So I start praying again, and halfway through the prayer, it stops. At this point I was like, whatever it is, it's gone. Until about 30 seconds pass again, but this time was much more frightening. I remember it felt as if someone plugged me into an outlet. I was being shocked, my whole body was shaking. Whatever it was holding me down so hard. I remember trying to move my arm as hard as I could, trying to rip the blanket off, trying to wake Nick up, to get him to help me. But in my head, I was saying the Our Father, and it left halfway through again. At this point, I was really freaking out. I was literally scarred for a few months after that. I slept in the same room as my mum for a month or so. It took me a while to make sense of what happened that night, but I think some kind of entity, or demon or something, tried messing with my friend Nick, and when I laughed, I taunted it, and it targeted me. But this story is not over. So this happened about 2 years ago when I moved into my new house, which I still live in today. I remember my aunt was visiting, and it was late at night around 2 a.m. I was just chilling, playing video games, doing my thing, when I hear this weird sound to my left or right. I had my gaming headset on, so I just ignored it and kept playing. When I thought I heard the same sound the second time from behind me on my bed, I took off my headset to wait to hear it again, to find out what it was. I sat there for like 2 minutes just waiting, when I heard this sound right next to me. It's literally all I could make out, and it was just weird and it creeped me out. So I ran into my mum's room and told her something was making sounds in my room, and she was like, "Oh, it's probably just the sprinkler system, or some BS," and went outside to look. I remember I walked back into the hall to my room and stood there waiting for my mum to come back inside, when I literally heard the loudest in my ear. I ran outside of my house crying and freaking out my mum. She thought I was crazy. I remember hearing the voice another time while I was trying to sleep, and I just kept telling it to go away, and I haven't had any crazy stuff happen since, even though I do get sleep paralysis sometimes. My most recent experience I had was like the presence of a woman in my room and I couldn't move. I don't know, all of this stuff is just creepy to me. I figured I'll post about it, after, share my experience, and if anyone has any insight, please let me know.